Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Into the Hive Mind. We have a new balanced data slate out, and just figured I'd talk about it, although not a whole lot to talk about. Looking at the Codex Tyranids, nothing really changed in terms of our rules. We did get a couple point drops in the Munitorum Field Manual, so I have those here for us. Looks like our Carnifexes have finally gone down in points. We are finally below sub 100 for the Carnifex model. They are now 90 points apiece, down from 115. That is a significant drop. And keep it the same, 180 for 2. The Screamer Killer Carnifex also went down another 10 points. They just keep dropping. We'll see at what point they become just reasonable. But yeah, this video is going to talk about these Carnifex drops and how that impacts Carnifexes in general and maybe gets them off the shelf. I hope you guys like all the new editing that I'm doing. If you didn't see, I am now taking some YouTube classes, so getting a little better at this, trying to make it look just a little more professional. Hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, let's dive into it. All right, so Carnifexes, they got a massive new buff. They went down 25 points per model, which when you were only 115 points to begin with is a significant decrease. They have a fairly mediocre stat line. You kind of get what you pay for. They have a Tyranid movement, Tyranid monster movement of 8 inches. They are only toughness 9. Which could be a bit of a problem, but they do come with a 2+ save. They have 8 wounds, leadership 8. They are not synapse, and they are OC3. Not gonna lie, I kind of expected these guys to be OC2. OC3 is nice. They do explode, deadly demise 1, and then they have the datasheet ability blistering assault. Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot, after that unit has shot, if any models from this unit lost 1 or more wounds as a result of these attacks, this unit can make a blistering assault move. If it does, roll a d6 and add 2 to the result. Each unit in this model can be moved in a distance and inches up to the result, but you must finish as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. When doing so, these models can be moved within engagement range of that enemy unit, and you can only make 1 blistering assault move per phase. So you have your Blood Surge move with the Carnifexes, except it is a d6 plus 2 Blood Surge. Not bad at all, and helps you see combat, and hopefully you live the shooting. So it basically discourages your opponent from shooting you if they can't kill you in one shot, if you have any enemies that you could pile into. Unfortunately, the Carnifexes, we will get to their weapon loadouts, but honestly, they have so many, I didn't actually put them here, because they have a whole bunch of different melee weapons, they have a whole bunch of different guns, all of which that you can mix and match. It's really cool how customizable they are. Unfortunately, pretty much every weapon does almost nothing. You get what you pay for. These guys are now 90 points. They are the cheapest Tyranid monster you can get, and they're just kind of a monster body that you can put on the ground. So we will get into the strengths and weaknesses of Carnifexes, but first let's take a look at the other guys that kind of go along with this video. The Screamer Killers share a stat line with the Carnifex of 8-inch move, T9. They do have 10 wounds rather than 8, and they do have a 2-up save, still leadership 8, still OC3. However, their weapons are locked in. You don't get any choices here. You get your Bioplasmic Scream, which is a very strange profile. 18-inch range, D6 plus 3 shots with blast. That's similar to our Exocrines and Maliceptors. However, he does hit on 4s. At strength 8, AP 2, damage 1. This is an assault weapon, which is nice because the Screamer Killer wants to get up close and personal, so being able to just have that advance and shoot built in is really nice. As far as melee weapons, the Screamer Killer has 10 attacks hitting on 3s at strength 10, AP 2, flat 3 damage. This flat 3 damage is where Tyranids live. It's really good. The whole metagame is revolving around a bunch of elite infantry right now, so being that damage 3 is really good. Some of the stuff is actually starting to power creep on us, and a lot of elite infantry now have 4 wounds, which makes that really awkward. But still, flat 3 damage 3 is pretty good, and 10 attacks obviously is a lot. Downside of this guy, no rerolls. We'll get to that in a little bit. But datasheet ability is Death Scream. So in your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of these attacks. That unit must take a battle shock check at -1. This combos really well with Neurolictors or any other kind of battle shock shenanigan that you're trying to do, but also can occasionally just be nice if you just happen to shoot the thing you're about to charge. They're now battle shocked, they can't Armor of Contempt, and take advantage of your weak AP2. So yeah, not too bad. Screamer Killers dropped down to 125 points, so they are now the same price as a Harspex. I expected them to be playable at 145. Again, their main issue is just no rerolls. Every time that I've used these guys, they go in, they kill like 4 Marines or 3 Terminators or do 6 wounds to a tank, and then because they have no invuln save, they just die. I don't know at what point cheap enough becomes cheap enough. 125 is cheaper than I ever thought I'd see these guys, but I'm not mad about it. So I'm going to keep trying. And yeah, let's get into the final Carnifex in this video. All right, Old One Eye did not go down in points. He is sitting at 150 still. Not too bad for what he does. Same stat line as a regular Carnifex, literally identical, except he has 1 extra wound as he is, special. Old One Eye also is stuck into his weapons. He does have, he actually has a strike and a sweep profile, one of the few Tyranid monsters to have that. His strike profile is 6 attacks hitting on 3s at strength 14, AP3. Again, it is literally just Old One Eye, a Tervigon with Crushing Claws, and the Carnifexes that can get AP3 in combat. So that's really cool that Old One Eye is one of those guys. Take advantage of it while you can. Psychophage even makes it AP4, which is pretty great. He does hit with D6 plus 1 damage, so he's literally just has 6 las cannon attacks at strength 14 in combat. Not bad at all. He can potentially kill tanks with that, which is what he's supposed to do. Alternatively, he does have a sweep profile, 12 attacks hitting on 3s at 611. I would literally never use this unless you're literally like punching guardsmen. Any 1 wound infantry this is good on, but otherwise I would just go with the 6 big attacks because you need that AP. He does have a 5-up Feel No Pain, and again, he can lead regular Carnifexes. He cannot lead the Screamer Killers, but he when he is leading the regular Carnifexes, he gets the ability Alpha Leader. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, re-roll the hit roll. This is the only reason to put Old One Eye in with regular Carnifexes. Getting Old One Eye and the Carnifexes rerolls to hit, because Carnifexes obviously are weapon and ballistic skill 4 as one of their main weaknesses. Full rerolls makes that way better. And then Old One Eye himself suddenly becomes infinitely more reliable when he has full rerolls to hit. And then on top of that, Old One Eye does have Unstoppable Monster. Start of each player's command phase, heal up to D3 lost wounds. This actually doesn't really come into play very often at all. Most of the time because you're allying him with the 2 Carnifexes. They take all the damage, then they die, and Old One Eye tends to get 1 shot after that. However, if you are nearing the end game state and your opponent doesn't actually have the firepower to 1-shot Old One Eye, he becomes basically immortal, because if he takes 6 damage in your opponent's turn and then he heals 2 in your turn and then 2 at the beginning of your opponent's turn again, then he is sitting pretty. Taking a look at the strengths and weaknesses chart, this is going to apply to pretty much all 3 Carnifexes that we just covered. All 3 of them are a cheap monster body that have a 2-up save. The regular Carnifexes have Blistering Assault, which is that Blood Surge move. The Screamer Killers are instead going to have that Battle Shock ability. Looking at the weaknesses, all of them are T9 and do not have an invulnerable save. That means that they are very squishy, especially to any dedicated anti-tank unit. Multi-Meltas especially love these guys because they actually don't have to wound them on 5s. The other downside is the anemic damage. So these guys are squishy and they don't hit hard. That is kind of the reason why you don't really see them. Now they're dirt cheap, and you just kind of get what you pay for. So with that, there are some ways to offset these, but the anemic damage can kind of be solved by combining the 2-man Carnifex unit with Old One Eye. But obviously that removes the strength of having a cheap monster body. So you've just kind of got your trade-offs there. But otherwise, let's take a look. Obviously, we want to go after our strengths, and we want to take away our weaknesses. So what can we do in order to take advantage of these strengths and minimize some weaknesses? Obviously, taking a look at detachments, Crusher Stampede is one of the best detachments, I think, for the Carnifexes to be in. Unfortunately, the detachment ability does not really apply to 2-man Carnifex units. The detachment ability gives you +1 to hit if you are below starting strength and +1 to wound if you are below half strength. With a 2-man Carnifex unit, what that means is you have to lose one of your 2 Carnifexes before you get +1 to hit, and you will never get the +1 to wound, because as soon as you lose that second Carnifex to be below half strength, you are dead. Similarly, if you attach Old One Eye in there, as soon as you lose that first Carnifex, the other 2 get +1 to hit. But as soon as you lose that second Carnifex, Old One Eye becomes his own unit. When that happens, obviously he resets. He no longer has +1 to hit or the +1 to wound, and he normally will regen above the +1 to wound most of the time anyways. However, that being said, I still think that this is the best detachment for them because Crusher Stampede just loves to spam as many monster bodies as possible. Carnifexes being less than 100 points makes that very easily doable. You could take 3 Carnifexes for 270 points. You can take 3 Screamer Killer Carnifexes for 375 points. Both of those seem really good. And the whole objective of that detachment is just to overwhelm your opponent with 13, 14 monsters. And that actually becomes very easy to do when you're looking at monsters being less than 100 points. So with that, let's actually jump into the Crusher Stampede list that I think puts these to the best use. Here is the Crusher Stampede list that I think would be great at utilizing the new Carnifexes and Screamer Carnifexes. Crusher Stampede really just wants to get as many monster bodies on the board. And like I said, the Carnifexes now being in single man really helps with this. They're now less than 100 points. And yeah, look at this. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14 monsters in this list, plus some Neurogons. So let's just break it down real quick. We have the Walking Hive Tyrant. This guy is crucial in Crusher Stampede. You really want those lethal hits, and you definitely need to have Assault on your gun line. So speaking of gun line, we have 2 Exocrines, 2 Maliceptors, and double Rupture Cannon Carnifex. That is just going to form the core, and all of those guys are ideally going to try and be around the Walking Hive Tyrant. Again, to have Assault more than anything, and the lethal hits are a nice bonus. The list then includes 1, 2, 3 individual normal Carnifexes and 2 Screamer Killers. My Screamer Killers are fun third-party 3D prints. Sorry they're not painted yet. I have not actually put them on the table. And then we finally finish up with 2 Psychophages. I just got my second Psychophage from eBay. Still needs a paint job. And then 11 Neurogons. That's actually supposed to be a Biovore, and I literally just could not find 5 points. So maybe it's going to be drop a Carnifex, put in like a Lictor, and drop the Carnifex and the Neurogons, and put in a Lictor and a Biovore, or something like that. And then throw an enhancement on the Walking Hive Tyrant. I don't know. But this is sketch number 1. And yeah, so that is the list. Let's dive into how exactly it should be played and why the single Carnifexes actually fit really well into this list. All right, so this is a deployment of just a standard tipping point, take and hold kind of mission on layout 1. Let's jump into the deployment and why I deployed like I did with this list. So Everything is hidden in this nice little pocket. Neurogaunts, again, they're just kind of there in case your opponent has a really fast turn one charge thing, or further down the line, the Neurogaunts are just going to be a wall to make your opponent's melee threat hit that first. Again, ideally, that would actually just be a Biovore, but for now, they fit nicely there and can be hidden. But as you can see, everyone else is just kind of sitting in this pocket, and then I actually did put this Carnifex right out in front. He technically could be shot turn one if the opponent really chooses to, but same thing. I have 4 monsters within 6 inches of this guy. So if the opponent for some reason can kill that Carnifex turn one, we use our free strat from our Hive Tyrant right there, and he auto explodes doing 1 mortal, and all of a sudden all 4 of those monsters have +1 to hit. Similarly, we have our second pod over here. I have 1 Carnifex here, just kind of peeking out. He probably can't be shot other than down this angle. So likely it's not going to be by anything major, but if your opponent decides to, say, have like a Lancer that gets, they spend a CP, put him in Devastator Doctrine to get Assault, run him forward, fire that off, they get lucky and kill your Carnifex, same thing. You pop 1 CP, auto-explode, all 5 of these guys suddenly have +1 to hit. So it's really just kind of a tease, and then on top of that, this Rupture Cannon Carnifex is just going to be able to move forward and pop whatever Lancer just did that. So this is kind of your defensive deployment, where pretty much nothing other than those 2 Carnifexes could really be attacked turn one. Maybe this Maliceptor here, but he's a Maliceptor, so he should be durable enough. Spend a CP reroll on an Invuln if you have to, but he should not be taking any major damage turn one. And then let's get into what it would look like after my first movement phase, because the other thing that I did is the Psychophages are actually really fast, moving 12 inches. So these guys are put on the flanks in case we need to do actions on the edges or anything like that. Then these guys can just move up the board much faster than the rest of the army. All right, and then this is what it would look like if I had gotten first turn. Obviously, we don't have an opponent to play against, so if the opponent gets first turn, then your first turn is going to depend on what they do, but this is just kind of a rough estimate of what I would like to do, assuming my opponent is playing something that's not going to hit me, alpha strike me turn one. So, by the way, both Screamer Killers are in Strategic. They are fantastic rapid ingress targets in this detachment. That is the main way that they're going to get into their targets. But essentially, I moved everyone as if they had rolled a 2 on their advance. So everyone moved essentially 10 inches. Obviously, you could potentially get further than that, but I don't want to show you something that you can't reliably do every single time. So basically, the Carnifex that was in the front runs onto that center objective. Again, if he's probably going to die now. Like, if the opponent doesn't kill him, then I don't know what your opponent is doing. You now have a Carnifex on the center objective. So this guy should 100% die. You auto-explode him, and both of those Maliceptors now get +1 to hit. Similarly, you now have a Carnifex on this expansion objective, kind of at a safe angle, where the opponent has to get here to be able to really target him. And if he does, you auto-explode, and the Tyrannifex and the Maliceptor both get +1 to hit. Replace that Carnifex with another one over here, and this guy is also just kind of bait, but if he explodes, you get the Exocrine and that Tyrannifex there. Psychophage don't really need the +1 to hit. They tend to get it most of the time from their own datasheet ability, but we're also just kind of staging here. The Maliceptor is maybe a little susceptible, but nothing, just basically this one main firing lane, which if your opponent does go into, you can 100% punish by sending this Hive Tyrant through the wall to give everyone assault, and then everyone just kind of moves up into this little area and kills anything over here. So this is what I would do if I got turn one with this list, and I hope that that kind of shows the power of these individual Carnifexes in Crusher Stampede. And then once again, the Screamer Killers are here. They are fantastic rapid ingress threats. They can battle shock stuff, and they will actually, tend to make combat and really just help do the Crusher Stampede thing of overwhelm your opponent with just monster bodies. And yeah, I hope that helps. And there you have it. So that is, in my opinion, the best use of these new Carnifex points. Uh, I will probably include some Screamer Killers. My next idea is a Synaptic Nexus list that very much includes a bunch of Battleshock shenanigans. So that will feature these Screamer Killers a little more. But yeah, I think this is the best use for individual Carnifexes with their new points. I will say that double Carnifex attached to Old One Eye is also very powerful in Subterranean Assault and Invasion Fleet. In Subterranean Assault, just because they can show up, shoot something far away, and then charge in, and Old One Eye kills something. And that's just obviously really powerful. And then in Invasion Fleet, this unit is actually very powerful because they can get lethal or sustained, obviously, from that detachment. And that makes them a very good Overwatch threat. Having full rerolls to hit from Old One Eye makes the shooting Carnifexes, whether that, I believe Death Spitters is probably the best thing to do. You do want the extra AP. Loadout in this detachment for this list doesn't actually matter. I chose Death Spitters and Scything Talons, but in all reality, these guys are here to die, and all of their damage is going to be kind of anemic. So whatever you feel like doing, but I do think Death Spitters with Slimer Maggots and the Scything Talons is probably the best look. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. This was the faction focus on Carnifexes, brought along by the new Tyranid data slate. Hope you guys like all the new stuff. I have tons more coming for you very soon. Thanks for watching. I will catch you all next time in Into the Hive Mind.